Do you feel like it was staged? It was real? Do you feel like this situation solidified Trump as being elected?
What advice can you give your sisters on tapping into their divine feminine?
What would you like to see more from our community that can bridge the wealth gap?
What's your problem with Project 25? Because I feel like it don't relate to black men at all.
What you present publicly, let that be as real as you are with yourself privately.
Push past those feelings and he think about his vision. He think about his will, his plan, his ideas, and shit. He execute. That's man.
If it's a problem, it's a solution.
That's not acceptable for men to do.
I'm building, I'm writing down goals, and I'm executing, I'm on my mission, tunnel vision.
I like the setting of man to man. Man, this is like a safe space to just speak freely upon everything.
Like, we talk like men.
I gotta hurry up and get up in the high level club. Keys just hit my phone, say we doing a live taping of the Man to Man podcast. There's a lot of people here. I need to get up here, so I'm here. I already got the topics ready. Let's roll.
Peace, family. Welcome to another episode of the Man to Man podcast where we talk as guys. And today I'm here with my good brother, Mr. 19 Keys. And today we doing something different. We actually got a live show. We got a few people that came out to support us today at the shop. And I want to tell y'all, thank y'all for pulling up, coming to Kick It with the High Level Club. I clap.
Okay, shit, a nice clap.
They were scared to clap.
That's not like that Martin, a fake audience. That's a real audience clap right there.
All right, so I already know what the people want to hear us talk about today. So,
oh yeah,
we got to get into it.
First, let's do this. Let's ask. I want to know if the people think it's real or staged.
Yeah,
or foul play. Because somebody was saying you got to add the third, right? Because it's complex situation. So it could be
is it staged? Is it foul play or what?
Or is it real? Is it a real complete assassination attempt?
Well, for me, I think it was real. Only reason I don't feel like it was staged is because he actually got hit, and I don't know nobody who gonna plan attempted assassination and tell the sniper to actually hit me with a bullet. I don't see that happening in real life. Why you feel like it was staged?
Somebody posted a video like in May talking about something like this, and then it happened. So it's just like,
all right, now what you think would be the benefits of Trump staging this? What would be the benefit for Trump or him staging?
I want to get more consensus. I want to see what's the overall consensus before we go through.
I say it's 50-50. I think our government has kind of conditioned our minds to kind of question things because they are known for staging acts to kind of throw a smoke screen, to the masses. I kind of agree with brother here, though. On a more realistic side, somebody died, somebody lost their life, unfortunately, prayers to the family. And he did get hit. Now, I'm not pro-Trump, pro-Biden, anything, but somebody was hurt. So, to say that was staged, then you have to think of, our government using casualties to make these, acts. I wouldn't be surprised if they did use a casualty. If you think about the wars in Afghanistan, there's casualties all the time, so I wouldn't put it past them. But, I'm going to lean more towards it happened, and that's what it is. And, the Trump pretty much just secured his news rotation for the remainder of the year, kind of blind him out. And then I also will say this too. I was listening to you earlier too, brother 19, how the strategies of war are in play right now. So, if you're a chess player, you're trying to think of what's the next best move or the next best three moves that I can do so that I can stay ahead of the game. And, as the length was extremely went to make that happen. I just think that, the main thing that should be looked at is what extremes people will go to consume your mind.
Personally, I feel like it's propaganda. I feel like he will forever be looked at as the one who lived now, because I feel like there's been so many assassination attempts on prior leaders, and they've been hit, and they go down in history for that. but like the fact that he lived, like,
I like that.
yeah, he's gonna, yeah, that's gonna be
I
like
like
the
that. I
topic.
like
So
that.
yeah.
Yeah, I also feel like it was staged. Sun Tzu, all wars based on deception. So I would agree with you. And think there was multiple reasons why it was staged. I think one is stage symbolism. He got shot in the right ear, the rightful heir. So he's next in line. So I think the elites are backing him. And I think they're trying to rally his base and also trying to engross us in distractions with the circus.
Oh, well, thank you.
Hold on. Let me ask you though. How you feel? Do you feel like it was staged? It was real, or what?
Quite frankly, I don't think it matters whether it was. I think in situations like this, when I can't if I don't have the facts, I don't try to conclude them. I look at what matters and how things can be used. So it doesn't matter whether it was real or not. It's about what people believe and what people feel, right? Politics, you go back to Rome and you think about the theater. You know what I mean? How they create a circus show, how they distract people from what actually matters. And the whole political season is a stage, right? To say something is staged, everything is staged when it comes to politics, first of all. But I would think of it in the sense that no matter what goes on, you should always critically think, especially when it's mainstream media. And the difference is today we have social media, which means that we can spawn different narratives just from the layman thinking about it, or narratives from a military guy giving his perspective, or whatever it may be, But when I look at it, of course, I can take it as wholesale if I want to and say, hey, this is what we've seen, so this must have been what happened. But, when the military, they run operations like this, right? To stage ways to distract the masses. You got Operation Mockingbird and different ones that you can go throughout time to where these things are acceptable, right? And the thing is about who runs the best play. That's all it's about. That's why having the conversation about whether it's staged or fake or real, it goes into the conspiracy bag, and there are many conspiracies in America. But I know for a fact that regardless, the left is going to say it's staged, right? And the right is going to use it. And what it does is it causes a shift. It's going to allow more people to be empathetic, right? And implore sympathy. He gets to hijack the news cycle, like my brother said. Project 2025 goes down. Now it's conversations about whether it is a conspiracy or not. But if you can't come up with 100% conclusive proof, then the people who want to believe it will believe it. The people who are on the fence have to believe it, right? And so otherwise, they will just paint you the same way as a conspiracy theorist that the left have been painting people at first. So this is the interesting thing, because usually it's the left saying that the right are conspiracy theorists. Now the right are saying that, oh, now y'all want to be conspiracy believers.
So do you feel like this situation solidified Trump as being elected?
Well, I thought he was already gonna win. So,
like, be for real. Like, what do you think Biden got a chance of, running another campaign that will outshine this situation?
So we talk about archetypes, right? So you talk about the collective unconscious ideas that people have. Trump is seen as the rebel, the outsider, right? And in a situation like this, he's seen as the strong man, the survivor, as the sister talked about. Joe Biden, he's like the elder, the caregiver, right? But he's also seen weak during this time. So men naturally, masculine men naturally, right, are going to lean towards Donald Trump, right? Not because they politically or morally align with him, but because, in a time of danger, if you got people that's sitting on an island, right, and they're in a time of uncertainty and they're not going to know what's going to happen, a lot of them are going to follow the alpha, right? Who's ever the strongest. It has nothing to do with they think this person is good or bad, but in a time of chaos, they're going to go to the person that they believe can help guide them through it, right? And so on a larger level, on an unconscious level, people be wondering, why is there so many black men who support Donald Trump? Because, well, on the left side, they believe that they have an agenda to effeminate masculine thinking and men, period. So a lot of people are leaning towards that, and we're in a time of uncertainty. The enemies of America are circling, right? We see BRICS, we see all of these different things. So while they may be trying to fight it based on, hey, here's the values that they're going to attack. The people are saying, what about our safety, period? Right? Because while you having a civil conversation about, Liberty Group and Project 2025 with a 900-page memorandum that goes back years as far as things that they've been trying to push, there's also a left agenda that we're not talking about to where we can compare notes and say, okay, which one are we more aligned with? Then it's the international stage where you have all of the foreign actors that want to see America in disarray. So the people have been living in chaos for a very long time in America.
Now,
Right?
should we be worried about the international perception of this incident happening?
No, I mean, at the end of the day, the international perception is the same. America was weak,
Yeah.
and it is weak, right? It's been seen this week. China is a scientifically superior, technologically superior country right now. They have more unity. They have more what we call patriotism and nationalism towards their country, right? They're more in sync and more in order, right? And economically becoming stronger and stronger, even though we're going to talk about the main things, right? But it's like going back to this stage play thing, right? We see my brother Denzel Washington, the coach's uncle, favorite uncle, I should say. Kanye West is our crazy uncle, and Denzel's our favorite uncle. You feel me? But he got a new movie out, Gladiator 2, and it's a black man that's ultimately trying to bring down the fall of Rome. And once you think about that, and we are in the midst of the fall of Rome, right? This is what we're dealing with at the moment, the end of an empire disease, right? I also have a question about, I think this country could be at the brink of a new age civil war. Not something that we've seen before, new type of civil war. It's already happening politically, right? I think it's happening in many different ways with this culture war, right? America is uncertain about what type of country it wants to be, right? Which is why when you see the Liberty Guide as like, hey, this is conservative Christian values being pushed as trying to renormalize, that's not going to happen completely, but they're trying to figure out laws to where they can push that in that. But what is America anymore? How can you have patriotism to a country when you don't know what it stands for or represents? Right? And so what are the traditions versus, are we pushing progressiveness? And what is progressiveness looking? Where does it end? When something just keeps going, eventually it mutates past being healthy and it goes into something that's unrecognizable. And how can you stand with that? And so I think that Donald Trump is going to win unless something crazy happens. And, in this country, anything can happen. I think you got to leave room for the unexpected, of course. But as it stands, I don't see how people will vote for frailty against the image of Donald Trump.
And now when it comes to Project 25, we've been hearing this, people talk about this a lot. What's your problem with Project 25? Because I feel like it don't relate to black men at all.
I mean, it's not particularly what my problem is with just Project 2025, but I have an issue with any white man's agenda that I'm not included in creating, right? And so it doesn't represent my values and my idea in our America, as I say, right? Because when I listened to a sister that was reading off a lot of the points, and you're right, a lot of the things are not something that's on my concern board of issues, right? But it's also just them talking about what are their plans for America. So, like I said, I don't agree with far right agenda. I don't agree with far left agenda. I don't agree with right or left agenda. So if it is not the black man's agenda, then it's not something I'm going to fight for. And it's something that I'm automatically going to be anti of. That was made up of scientists, intellectuals, thought leaders, right? Comprised of white brain trust, right? Of ideas. That they didn't go, cipher from black thought leaders, intellectuals, scholars, right? Theologians on our side. So we're not represented in that the same way when they created the Constitution, we 3/5 of a human being. And you ask me, what is my problem with it? Well, look, they said we ain't shit. So anytime there's an agenda to where our mind is not represented in it, I have an issue with it. So first of all, let's think about framing in the context that when people talk about things being staged or not. And first of all, if I'm going to stage something, I would just be like, all right, we need to make it believable. So we got to have somebody dead. We got to catch the shooter. We got to kill the shooter. Right. So it's a nice perfect package. I think what makes it for a lot of people unbelievable is the fact that number one, he paused and took a picture. Right? I think Donald Trump is a great
it's Donald Trump we talking about.
but
though.
it's Secret Service you
expect
talking
that
about
from-
too though.
I expect
So-
that from Trump though.
You can't stop and create content in the middle of assassination attempt. It just don't make sense to me.
I'm saying, but people do that every day. You see,
No, they don't
listen.
do that every day.
Yes, they do. You
No,
see,
they don't.
I'm finna tell you how.
No,
Listen.
Secret Service don't do
No,
that. And
listen.
Secret Service is not people.
Listen. People of real life be in the hospital and they'll go live.
That's people.
And be like, I'm still alive. So we see this every day.
Secret Service are a trained group
So
of
is that-
people that
I'm saying
have
it ain't
orders,
far-fetched.
regiments,
That's
and
all I'm
protocol to where when something happens, the president don't have control of power over them. You know what I mean? You they asset now that they control and move.
Now, what I do think is I don't know how the shooter actually got there because it's Secret Service job.
No, yeah,
to
that
go
didn't make
check all
sense.
those points and figure out, you know what I'm saying, if it's an active shooter.
How he climb on the roof, get in position, take his shot. You know what I'm saying? Well, it ain't that many vantage points in that particular area. So it was somebody's job to make sure that that particular vantage point, right, where a sniper could shoot, which I imagine is probably only one or two places, and those were one or two places, and nobody had that covered whatsoever, right? There can be lapse in security. Nothing is perfect, but he's spending millions of dollars on security, right, specifically. So the other thing goes is to Secret Service, right? We know that Biden administration is not allowing candidates to get Secret Service, right? He didn't let RFK get Secret Service. So, I mean, that's where the next conspiracy kind of goes into is, was this a lapse of Secret Service, right? Are they on the payroll of the left? So that's where the things kind of go into, because I could see, plausible why people have these ideas, especially when the fact Robert F. Kennedy, uncle and father were assassinated. And he said that he don't care. I'm not giving you no Secret Service. Now, it'd be interesting to see if they finally decide to do when we see that there's credible attacks on candidates during this particular hour. But that lets me know that, there's some foul play going on from the beginning of this whole entire thing.
Yeah, I just feel like if it was staged, Trump probably didn't know nothing about it.
Yeah, I mean, that would make it plausible.
Me,
better.
I'm a survivor of being shot. So I don't see nobody putting a mission together saying, all right, well, I want you to shoot me to make it look real for the camera.
Well, I mean, if the reward was you
For
becoming
real.
president, hey, you might take some risk.
It
And
ain't
you
that
not going to
serious.
jail because remember, he trying to get in power so that he can, make sure that he's clear and change the world. So there's billionaires behind him. There's a lot of power behind him. But I think just that particular moment for me just didn't make sense. Seeing him stop and Secret Service listening to him when their job is to not listen to him. That's their job. If somebody, not even if it's just a credible threat, but somebody actually shot at him and he was bleeding and he said stop and they listened for the specific purpose of taking a picture for campaign purposes. Goes against everything that I know about the Secret Service and what they stand for, right? They only have one job, and that's to keep the assets safe. So in that moment, they completely disregarded their whole entire job. In the worst case scenario, right, for Donald Trump to get a picture.
But we know Donald Trump to be a capitalist, right? So Donald Trump seized the moment. He took that shot. He know he gonna sell a lot of merch after that to add more money, more funding for his campaign.
No, Donald Trump's supposed to try to do that. I'm saying that either these Secret Service agents, they beginners, I don't know, they just getting started. You feel me? They talking about their DEI and there's a lot of jokes that's running around with this one, but I would always, because I could never say this is staged because I have no facts to back that up, right? It's all optics. Everybody has the optics. Like, we can critically think on it, and I think that's what is important in all these situations. Like, let's critically think, right? Like, let's look at Martin Luther King was assassinated. His mother was assassinated. I don't put it past the government. I don't put it past nobody, right? We know that Malcolm X was assassinated. There are assassinations that happen in this country by the government, by the FBI. He's trying to get the FBI, right? In that Project 2025, he's trying to get them defunded, right? So you got a lot of different things going on. He had an enemy in the CIA because he's trying to dismantle and change the CIA and work with private information groups You know what I'm saying? So like when he say he's against the establishment, he really is against the establishment. So it can be multiple things going on at once. You feel me? At the end of the day. And when it comes to these lone shooters, I never believe in lone shooters. I hate the narrative of lone shooters because I don't see how lone shooters work by themselves to do such complex things, right? And then when they done, the conspiracy is over with just this person. They never wanted to make it seem like it's a network of people working together. It's funded. It's always some distraught, mentally ill, over-bullied, you know what I'm saying, little white boy that you got to feel sorry for now. Even the way, I don't even like the way the media is painting him. I seen a so-called friend of his from high school that don't know him anymore talking about he was just so bullied because he dressed bad. You know what I'm saying? Man, I don't want to hear that soft shit, man. That don't make you go and shoot at the president. I don't believe it. It's just nothing about it. Nothing about this whole entire story. It's too perfect. You know what I mean? A lone shooter that was bullied in school, right? That was in a BlackRock commercial once, that registered Republican, and then happened to just spend $15 to Biden after he won. Nothing makes sense to me.
Well, I feel like we'll just have to wait on Trump's next appearance on television to find out the truth.
Trump about to milk this. He about to milk the hell out this. Trump dude he got a mug shot. Yeah. He got a gun shot. You know what I'm talking about?
He got a RICO charge.
He got everything. He got the perfect package right now, everything he needs. You know what I'm saying? Trump, ain't nobody has ever ran an election like this. Dude selling NFTs.
He definitely got the
you know what I'm saying? Memorabilia. He got felonies on his record.
For sure.
Like, Donald Trump has the perfect package to appeal to this generation to become president. And Biden literally has nothing to appeal. Right? Is the most anti-character that you can pick to run for president against somebody like him. Literally almost anybody would be better than Biden at this point. No, I'm for real. I mean, in the sense that, like, what does Biden represent? People are now saying, like, I look at the comments and they be like, I will vote for Biden if he was on dialysis. He was on his deathbed. That's sad. That means that you have zero belief in him and you're only voting to try to be anti another party, not because you believe this party has a good vision for you. Now, you believe that they gonna take care of you, it's gonna be good. And, my brother Tariq Nasheed, they said he came up with this, but they calling the people that believe in him regardless Biden sexuals. You know what I'm saying? Now, I can't unsee it because I do see a lot of Biden sexuals going on out there. You know what I'm saying? Where they're attracted to him regardless of what he does. Right? There's some Trump sexuals too, for sure. You know what I'm saying? But all I'm saying is the way that black people believe in white candidates regardless of what they do and they give them a pass, I want to make sure y'all remember that same standard when it comes to black leaders. You know what I mean? Because they will pull apart and look for any small thing. So you telling me that I can get your vote of confidence, you know what I mean? If I have dementia, if I have cognitive issues, if I don't have anything for you, I can get it if I'm a felon, I can get it if I'm a sexual predator, I can get it no matter what. On both sides, you still go give me that same vote of confidence. You go wear my merchandise, right? You go campaign for me, you go use your platform, you gonna stand by me throughout all my issues and problems. So it's no longer a moral thing when it comes to leadership. Biden ain't good at running his family. You know what I mean? He got crackhead kids. Trump is trying to have sex with his daughter, right? We got all kind of issues on both sides, and regardless, people love them. So I think it's like Cat Williams say, it's an unnatural allegiance to losers.
Okay. So I'm finna move on to a different topic. And speaking of standards or whatnot, it was a video that had went viral this weekend of the good sister Megan Good and her new the guy she's dating, Jonathan Majors.
Yeah.
I don't know the other guy's name. What's his name? Michael Ealy or something?
Yeah.
That's his name?
Menace is his name.
But anyway, in this
Brother's a
video,
menace.
he went viral for, giving her an inappropriate hug in front of Jonathan Majors. Now, it's two different videos. A video he acknowledged Jonathan before he gave her the hug, but of course they only blasted out the video where he picked her up off the ground and gave her a hug.
Mm-hmm.
And like my stance on that is the hug was inappropriate, but from Jonathan Majors' point of view, I feel like he handled it how he was supposed to because of the cameras was around, and especially why he got all this heat on him after this situation with the white girl. Now, man, my girl got to have a talk in the car, though, leaving this event for sure. How you feel about this?
Everything about it was wrong. Everything about it was wrong. First of all, no man should be picking up another man's girl.
Yeah.
No, whether he's there or not. But bro was trying to be disrespectful, obviously. He was trying, and he plays that same character in all the shows. So I know he know. You know what I mean? He's cast type in real life. You feel me? That's the only role he plays. This light-skinned nigga fucking up everything.
You know them type of hugs. You know them type of hugs.
We
man.
know the type of hugs.
Yeah.
Nah, bro. First of all, the woman supposed to check that immediately. You're not even supposed to have the type of energy to where somebody go do that.
First off,
You
it's supposed
feel
to
me?
be a handshake.
Remember, we was
anything.
talking about them bags on the last episode, and he had one of them bags he was carrying. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He thought he could try
One of the
it 'cause
satchels
he-
that you had.
No, not mine.
That's what it was.
He had one of them
yeah.
fanny packs. That's what got him. He should
Yeah.
have had a backpack or something that was, you feel me?
All right, but like
he wasn't set up right.
in that situation though, right? Because a lot of people was talking about Jonathan Majors. He's soft. He should have checked him right there and there. But he couldn't do all that right now, especially in the media. For sure. But you can tell by his face that he was disturbed.
They put him in a lose-lose situation for sure. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I say when you got a good woman, she go check the situation so she don't make you look crazy. And that was really her responsibility. Like, relax. You feel me? You're doing too much. And then at least when that happened, she was supposed to then go back over to Jonathan Majors to reinforce, you feel me, her loyalty on his side. You like, damn, you did too much. Let me step out my man again because you wilding right now. You feel me? And then whether he jokingly said it or seriously said, like, bro, that was way too much. The internet would have been on his side for that.
So what you would have did in that situation?
Oh, no, we checking activities instantaneously. You feel me?
Oh, the
Everybody
camera
in that
is, they
situation
got-
getting checked. People that's even watching, what you looking at? You feel me? Everybody's getting checked. The people that's about to comment when they see it,
Fact.
ain't none of that. You feel me? Like, because you know, men go always wild out. Men be doing too much. You know, we was always taught, you know, in Islam is different in the nation. You know, my mother wouldn't even shake other men's hands, you know, let
Eye
alone
contact.
a
Nothing.
hug with a thrust hip pickup. Oh no. You know, that's beyond protocol. You feel me? So I think in those situations beforehand, you gotta establish boundaries, number one. So stuff like that don't happen because protection is preemptive. It's not something that happen afterwards. Right? So now you trying to protect your image. Now your ego is in there. Now you feel disrespected. You compounding that with public life.
Now you got to think about, damn,
Yeah.
did she hug people like this when I ain't around?
Right. Now Michael Ealy is his name. Now I got to pull Michael. Like, bro, don't do that again. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to put hands on you. Tripping, bro. You wilding. You feel me? This ain't the movies.
All right.
You know what I mean? But I think that every man and woman should have those established boundaries. You got to respect yourself and respect the man that you with enough. Number one, to not make him look foolish to where he got to react in a situation. So she's supposed to establish those boundaries, right? So he doesn't have to react in a way to have to step in, because ain't no man want to be seen looking like a fool in front of the whole public. You feel me? Like, for what reason? So now I'm looking at you crazy. Now there's an issue within our relationship dynamic. So I think that, number one, men shouldn't do that, but men go wild out. And then women should know how to handle themselves in that type of situation. Yeah. Because by the time all of that happened, it was almost too late for him to do anything. Like, he ain't got, you know what I mean? Go fight him.
I
at
definitely
that
wouldn't have took the picture afterward, though. If it
was
staged.
staged. Yeah, yeah.
They had a movie coming out.
Maybe make him look bad so now he can get into movies again. She might be on to something. Might be on to something for sure.
So look,
I know Coretta Scott when they did that.
I seen another post today, right?
She would ain't no dude walking up to Coretta and picking her up in front of Martin.
Martin was the one doing the hoods.
Hey, relax. Relax. Allegedly. Allegedly.
But anyway, on another note, right? I seen this video today, right? And it was this lady, and she had 10 children. And she was showing her meal prep, and she had like 60 plates. So she was making meals for the kids throughout the whole day. And I kind of thought about it, was like, damn, how can one woman make all these meals for one kid? Like for 10 kids. And then it got me thinking, like, back in the day, I know a lot of women used to have 10 children and whatnot. And they used to have the village helping them, you know what I'm saying, maintain the psychological needs for the kids. Everything. They used to have a village helping them.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought about it today. I don't really see that many women with 10 children or whatnot. And if I do, they're single parents as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you come from a household where there's a whole bunch of y'all,
Yeah.
How did that work out in your household?
It didn't work out. It was all first it gets me thinking, because I was studying the Moynihan report, because we've been talking about all these agendas and reports. And they was talking about, the pathology of the Black family and how it became weak through all the traumas that we went through. And one part specifically stuck out to me when he was talking about how middle-class Americans, number one, specifically whites, they would decrease the amount of children that they have to preserve their wealth, right? They didn't want to have to expend all their wealth on these children, because you got all of these costs associated with it, education and all of this stuff that happens. And we didn't have that good financial planning in the Black community, so people will be having all these children way beyond their means, right? So even if there was any wealth built, it would be lost in the fact that you're trying to take care of things beyond your abilities. So when I think about, my family was like that as well, right? I'm glad, of course, I got all my siblings now, but if it was like proper planning, wouldn't have had that many children, because there's a strain, you know what I mean? And that strain plays out to where you fall into these different statistics, right? You have people that end up in jail, criminality, poverty, right? Stress, depression, suicide, all of these different things that happen in adverse childhood experiences, because it puts undue stress on you when you're in a financial situation such as that one. And I think that we got to get back to like proper family and wealth planning. You feel me? Like everybody shouldn't have nowhere near that many children. I don't think we got that problem, because most women nowadays don't want to have children, according to new stats that come out about, this generation, because they're afraid of uncertain future, right? But when we do plan, you have to plan according to your means as well. Can you provide in context to give proper focus to raise this child up, right? Because they definitely have to be educated. They have to be emotionally tended to. And we obviously deal in a world now where you got to definitely watch your children more than ever, because there's a million agendas trying to pull their energy. You got social media, you got all these different things. So if you got 10 children, one of them or two of them going to be a sacrifice, because you can't watch them all.
Right. So you feel like on a personal level, it was a whole bunch of y'all. You feel like some children don't get the attention that the other one will get just because there's so many of y'all?
No, it's not possible. Not possible. Right? All right, so number one, the father in the household will probably have to be working all the time or have a job that requires a lot of his time. You don't come from a wealthy background, pass down assets, right? Or have a village, which most people don't have villages anymore, grandparents, great-grandparents, right? All my grandparents are gone, right? We didn't have like that much assistance from extended family. So if a dad is taking care of the finances in that household, which he would need to if you got that large of a family, he would mostly be gone a lot. Then when he come back in the house, he won't have that much intellectual and emotional energy, right, to actually nurture these children in a way that they should be, not individually. So even if you get 4 today, there's still 6 more that you got to deal with. So you're going to have to find time to pair, and it's going to be based on your time, not their time, not when they need the needs, but when you can make the time for their needs. Then you got your own. So if yours is in a deficit, then you're not even established in proper energy to deal with them the way you want to. It becomes more of a chore, right, than a labor of love. You feel me? And then you got the mother in the household prepping for all those children, getting them all dressed, shopping for them all, creating an environment, cleaning up. That's a full-time job, 24/7. You feel me? So just maintaining them, right, and protecting them and having a place to stay for them and all of that is the job. Then raising them and educating them, right, and watching them and surveillance and all of that, it's impossible.
How did you maintain your psychological fortitude, like growing up in a household like that?
I think I was an outlier, man. I just had a certain perspective about life and about myself. I never needed the things that I think regular children need as far as attention, right? I never needed somebody to tell me I was great. I never needed those things, but everybody's personality not like that. You feel me? Like where somebody else may need that, I didn't need that. So I was always the one creating that narrative in my own head. You feel me? Like I'll go by myself and I'll be speaking to myself, but then I have my older brother I run with. So I'll have my rituals of rites of passage to when I know when I became a man in certain areas.
I was just about to ask you this. So, what you saying, your mom, knowing that she couldn't help everybody at the same time and whatnot, did you ever step up and
Hell
to your
yeah.
big brother role?
Hell yeah. Why you think I started selling drugs?
Man, you sold drugs for a week. For 1
No,
week.
for real. I never, like, even my pops would disappear for periods of time. We didn't know where the hell he was. Asian one was in the streets. He'd be here and there. He'd go to college. He'd disappear. He'd be gone. So you become the man of the house by default, right? You got to take care of things. We was on Section 8, welfare, food stamps, right? All of the stuff that you could think of. So, you got help with groceries, bills. So we outside hustling. You feel me? Little bro and them getting fights. And I feel like he got whooped. I got to take him back over there. You feel me? And make sure that he get his in. Because that was part of character development. Like, you end up taking on the same roles as, like, the person that raised you in that role. But then there's so many people that will become a full-time job.
Do that make you feel like you don't want no kids after having seen all
Nah,
that?
not at all. Because I want to duplicate myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't look at the failure of others as my own. If anything, they just lessons to do better. But hell yeah, I want a little 19 Keys Juniors running around.
I had one and quit. It's the kids, man. It's
hey.
crazy, especially raising kids.
You might have some more.
nowadays.
You never know.
It's over with.
You might have some more. There's a woman out there waiting to give Steve some baby.
No, I'm cool. I'm cool. I'm done.
He don't mean that, ladies. He don't mean that. He wanted.
All right, now let's get to this. I seen another video. China had started closing down banks.
Mm-hmm.
So whatnot. Did you see this video?
Yeah, I seen some of it. But China they went through that Evergrande situation with the real estate. It was supposed to always have a ripple effect. So a lot of people think China was just propping up their economy and things of that nature. But at the same time, all economies go through cycles. So I haven't done the research to see what cycle, right, China is in. But just as I pull this up, it talks about the Evergrande crisis, which they was like one of the largest real estate companies, and their portfolio was too hyper fluffed up. So when that fell and they defaulted, you were supposed to see this particular cycle that they're going through now. So,
but what does that mean for Americans, though?
Shit, I don't mean nothing. They should have. Hey, you gotta go get you some money out here. If you broke, it don't mean nothing for you.
For the people that
you already get money
that's invested into these Chinese companies.
I don't know nobody investing in Chinese companies. So
you don't know no friends that got stocks or nothing?
No, I do, but I'm saying they got to figure that out for themselves. Y'all figure it out. I think China gonna be all right though.
I feel like that should be a little bit weird.
Man, no, America was closing down banks as well. Do we not remember all of the banks that closed? You know what I mean? Over the last 2 years, right? They was having hella banks that was closing. They was saying by the end of this, it's only going to be these mega banks left in the first place. And I think we're going to see more bank closures. We're going through so many cycles. It's just hard to pay attention to which thing going on because each one is as serious as the next. So we consume things fast and move on. But all of these things is important. It's just during an election season, historically, the stock market continues to rise. They're not going to let it fall during an election cycle. You feel me? So at the end of the day, the stock market should not be doing what it's doing, but they propping it up. They fluffing it up. The numbers is not real. So it's easy to know, I'm going to invest into the stock market. The S&P 500 going to continue to rise because it's an election year, right? A standing president is not going to let the goddamn, stock market fall while he in office. That's the last thing. That'd be the easiest reason why people stop voting for you. That market is down. Oh yeah, we voting for whoever else saying they gonna bring the market up. You feel me? So right now the market has been doing pretty good.
I want to open the floor up to the viewers right now. Do anybody got some questions they want to ask either one of us?
Come on, don't be silent now. This an active. It's all black people in here. I know y'all got some opinions.
Okay. So, Brother Keys, so you tend to talk about masculines, diving into their divine masculine. What advice can you give your sisters on tapping into their divine feminine?
I think it's a great question. I think it starts with values and virtues, right? For me, it's looking at the examples and role models that exist, which unfortunately in like popular media is not that many that you will point to and be like, yo, she's super divinely feminine. I want to be like that. So you have to curate your own list of women that you can learn from. Some of the most like divinely feminine women I know of is like Mother Tanetta, right? She has such a way with words and the way of thinking, and she represented this wisdom of femininity, right? And studying people like her, Sister Ava, Queen Afua, right? I think that they are good women that represent, right, that elders, because a queen raises a princess. You know what I'm saying? It's not the king's job to make you feminine, right? It's a natural sitting within, the elements of who you are. And you got to get in touch with your light feminine side and your dark feminine side. You feel me? And I think a woman that has some sort of like arts and craft, right? I talked about it before. A woman that grows plants and things of that nature, having to nurture something and take care of something, right? Puts you in that natural state of feminine. For, being in nature puts you in that state of feminine. So you want to be in environments in it so that you emulate the environment, right? Because that femininity is natural, it's growth, it's birth, right? And I think beyond studying feminine women, I think that's the best thing to do. Like, look for those archetypes, because when a man is not in his masculine energy, he's going to look for someone that is. The problem today is that there's a lot of women that's not in a feminine energy, and they look towards masculine women to guide them, right? So instead of getting more into their feminine, they end up taking on more masculine traits, becoming more assertive and, more into their logical thinking, right? And taking on the archetype of the masculine versus the archetype of the feminine. So if you look at archetypes throughout history, you see some that represents curiosity and piety and purity, right? And aesthetic beauty and things of that nature, right? Those are things that, women of, yesteryears would emulate, right? As what represented the virtues of a woman. There's a peaceful challenge that a woman provides to a man, right? But she has to have that peace within herself, understanding the power of her tongue, right? How to speak life, because she can lash out and speak death, right? But it's a school for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not just something you pick up and you run with. Like, in the Nation of Islam, it's called Muslim girl training, right? So they literally learn how to cook, learn how to speak, learn how to move, right? The biggest job and the hardest job in the world is when two couples get married, but there's no training for it, right? Everybody focuses, like Brother Nuri Muhammad talks about, everybody wants to get to the wedding, but nobody prepares for the marriage. And that preparation happens before you meet a partner. You know what I'm saying? It happens within yourself, because no man waits for a woman to bring out his masculine side, and no woman should wait for a man to bring out her feminine side. That should be something that you automatically tapped into. But when your nature is not conducive, or your environment is not conducive to your nature, then you have to take on what's missing. So when you're in an environment where there's not a lot of masculine thinking and a lot of masculinity, right? Not only that, in society, then you're going to take on the attributes that you believe are missing, because you're going to want to protect and guide yourself by that energy. So it's the imbalance, right? And it's easier for women to identify what's masculine than they can feminine. So I would say it's the studying of it. Anytime I want to learn how to do something, I study it, right? If there's something going on with me mentally, something I can't figure out, I go into the root of it and I study it so that I can identify it when it's happening, so that I can double down on it when it's working, right? So I would challenge you to study the feminine, study the history of it. There's many women that are good guides of the feminine, but I think Queen Afua is a great steward today that represents that feminine divine, because she's teaching women how to tap into the womb healing, tap into the womb energy. The difference between men and women is that womb. That is what makes you special, right? Man just means mind. So we both have minds, but you have a womb. That's your difference. So the thing to study would be your womb, right? And she has rituals. She goes into the history of it, right? And she has protocols and frameworks for one to get in connection with that feminine side. So I'm going to put that responsibility deeply on you and the other women out there as a challenge to present more of femininity in a very powerful way.
I'll add one thing: trust your intuition, because I got a lot of sisters, And I always tell them follow your intuition, because when they second guess it, that's when all their problems go wrong. I be telling my sisters, you gotta take a break, go to the beach, go chill, and you know what I'm saying, do something. But if you don't trust your intuition and listen to your inner voice, you're gonna always second guess yourself. Anybody else got another question?
My question is, what would you like to see more from our community that can bridge the wealth gap?
I think one of the biggest things is representation of families, right? It's not like I was driving down the street and I had that thought, looking at this Jewish family, right? Because around this neighborhood, it's a lot of Jewish families. You see a complete family picture, right? The wife, the children, the husband, they all dressed up just to go take a walk, right? Now, when that husband builds up wealth, a wife builds up wealth, they pass it down to those children, right? And then those children, after taking the knowledge from the father and the mother, teaches that to their children, right? And so we may look at wealth in a lot of ways as like financial instruments and assets, but it's really the knowledge, the skill sets that's passed in the family that becomes the wealth, the skill, the trade, right? Creating like family emblems, right? And putting like a family mission. Like if you don't come from a good family should come from you, right? Because families are a vehicle for transferring wealth, right? Over time specifically. So I think that we have to get heavy on rites of passage and family, full holistic family representation, right? Because if you get money, right, you got to have a trust set up, right? A fund set up to pass that down to someone. So it's these processes that we're not getting into, setting up trust and creating trust fund babies, that I think are the most important, but those are for families. They're not for individuals. So this individual mindset to me is the most toxic thing in society, because we feel like we need this individuality so much, which comes from this insecurity. I need to think just my way. I can't take your advice. I don't feel like a man. Like this lack of collective thinking comes from broken families. You feel me? Trying to find your individuality so you can feel special and feel seen, because nobody told you were special enough as a child. Or maybe they told you too much, and that becomes something you're constantly over-seeking, right? Versus growth. So what I see in that is we have to create our own representation of that, because if we don't see it, we don't believe it. And they control media. So they're going to take media in the sense, and they're going to show you all of these mixed couples because that's what they want to push. You're going to look at advertisement agencies, and all they want to push is interracial dating and marriage. They don't want to push any black family representation whatsoever. You'll be hard pressed to go find some representation of black families, right? But when we go back to Will Smith character and Fresh Prince, that was a whole black family, right? We go back to what's the old man? Bill Cosby, he represented black family. Steve Urkel, they had black family, right? We just don't have that representation unless it's a toxic, over-sexualizing, criminalizing tropes and stereotypes that they represent today. But when there's a family, there's an easy vehicle to be like, all right, these are the protocols to teaching the son, right? The protocols to teaching the daughter. This is how the father and son interacts with each other, right? That creates a healthy establishment inside the household. They become productive as citizens, build business, create jobs, transfer assets, and it becomes a generational wealth transfer versus one generation. So for me, I think that's the biggest thing. It's the representation of black families that we're missing holistically, and not black couples. I think we confuse the black love, right, for the black family, and it's not, right? You don't have to be in the so-called romantic state of love as we idealize it from what we get from, Western media. It's the black family and what that represents and the power dynamic it represents. And one of the things that we have lost is there's so much attack about patriarchy in the world, right? But we never talk, the same thing when people attack masculinity. We never talk about what is the divine representation of that? What place does it actually operate? Where's the role in it? So when masculinity is attacked and patriarchy is attacked, there's no way to have a family. It's not possible. There's no way for women to be safe. It's not possible, because now you're telling men not to be in their role. And if men are not in a role, it creates automatic absentee fathers, right? It's going to create absent husbands, right? There's not going to be any loyalty towards you because those loyalty comes from the values that's connected to those archetypes, right? Of the patriarch leading the household, right? Of the masculine asserting himself in society and having a vision and leading the way. So these are like fundamental things that have to be rooted so that you create a culture. And then that culture, when we go back to Greenwood, we go back to different towns, it's because they were rooted in family dynamics that they built wealth. It wasn't because they got financial literacy. You know what I'm saying? It was the family dynamics. Whether it was little wealth, they knew how to pass down the knowledge. They knew how to pass down the money, right? They have rites of passage that each person would have to go through, whether they had trust funds or not. They had certain things established to be like, we're not giving you the money unless you do this. So that family is the vehicle that fixes everything. And it was the disruption of the family that destroyed everything. So the repairment of the Black family fixes the wealth problem.
The disruption part I feel is where the distraction is happening the most, right? And we're being constantly distracted with, propaganda, Ukraine war, elections, market manipulations, gender wars, you name it, right? They're like going to extremes to consume our minds. What are some alternatives to stay on focus and to not be distracted by these things so that we can focus on the family unit, so that we can focus on passing down that knowledge?
Yeah. I think that you have to curate a world for yourself, right? So it'd be easy. If somebody is a part of Nation Islam, then they're only going to do the things within the Nation Islam, be around people who think like them, have the same values, go to the same events, right? Follow the same ideas. So it's easy to immerse yourself in that world. Problem is we consume too much of different worlds, right? We consume so many different worlds on a daily basis. They don't reinforce what we believe and what we think. So our mind is consumed with somebody else's world that has completely different value system, right? And now we engaged emotionally and financially into that system. So now it's taken away from that amount of energy you could have spent on your world. So if you go look at your phone and be like, how much time you spent on the internet, then you divide that by time. How much time have you spent on things that are based on the world that you want to live in? Most of the time, 90% of the time, is going to be based on the world you don't want to live in. So it's all about you feeding yourself things that you reject or trying to reject, but really are being consumed by, right? So you're only adding into that. You're giving time and energy into that and resource, right, into that. So to me, it's like when you look at a full script of what creates culture, right? And anybody needs to do that when they are like training for something or, preparing for anything, is that you create this world around you to where you locked in. You know what I mean? And when you locked in, you saying that I don't want to consume anything outside of what's going to help bring about my goal, right? And so focus is not something that you're going to easily find. Focus is going to come with that discipline, right? So it's like, what am I watching? What am I eating? Who am I around? It comes from curating a tribe. Because if you look at people that are extremely successful, they curate their world. They'll tell you, oh, nope, I'm not watching that. Oh, nope, I ain't got that many friends I'm dealing with. Oh, nope, I don't socialize in places that don't make sense. So in the world, it's like you can complain about the radio or you can curate a playlist, right? If what's on the radio is destructive, toxic, only sexy red music, then you can go curate a playlist of independent people that feed your mind based on the world that you want curated. But beyond that is finding tribes. So this Find Your Tribe season. This is why we decided to do High Level Club, because we want a space for leaders and creatives, right, that can come together and being like, okay, this is our world that we building. So doing like hikings and bonfires and community meetings and things of that nature, because we have to occupy our time. Like we talk about the point of living. Point of living is to be alive, is to move. Honorable Elijah Muhammad talk about first law of the universe, motion, second law, order. You that motion is how we know we alive. We spending our time. Your time don't start until you make the right moves. And most people not making the right moves, so they don't feel like it's their time, right? But when you're talking about order, you're talking about constructing organization in your life. At the root of that has to be your values, right? This is why we say family. You know what I'm saying? Honor, respect, right? Dignity, right? What is it that you believe in? Wealth principles. So then you go curate your friends and be like, all right, do we have the same shared value, right? We go to places all around the world and we always talk about uniting with Black people, right? And it's such a blanket statement because we have so many different types of Black in the world now, right? So many different shades of Black, if you will, right? Or really shades of brown. But the word Black is confusing because it doesn't identify people that's in the same ethnic group as you that have shared values. So I could be like, yo, I'm ready to unite with all my Black people. Well, some of them gonna be your enemy. Some of them gonna be traitors. Some of them are super capitalists. Some of them are pedophiles. Some of them have the mind of a white man. So what was to be the point of uniting with all of them? You're setting yourself up for failure, right? But if I say I'm God body and I'm like, all right, who believe in these principles, knowledge of self and family, right? And nation building. And then I find people that believe in those principles, right? And then say, okay, let's unite based on these values. Now these are the people that I want to be in my world because we have shared ideas. So a world is a curation of ideas. And the thing about taking you off your focus is you keep investing in ideas that have nothing to do with the world you want to live in. So I would say find you a tribe, and it starts with a small group, 3 to 5 people that represent the same value structure and system, right? And then if you can find an existing community that you believe fit that, then jump into that. And sometimes you have to have tribes that just represent one value. One can be wealth. Well, I like the way y'all believe in building wealth. I want to be around this, but they may not have nothing to do with your spiritual beliefs, right? And ideology. So then you find another one for that.
Right. So is it safe to say that an individual's focus is solely based off their self-awareness?
100%. And knowledge of self. Because it's only going to go as far as how much you know yourself. I think the biggest, greatest study in the world is knowledge of self, right? That's my greatest study. I'm always studying myself because I'm the only person that I can operate at any given time in the world, right? I have to understand, how my body operates, how my mind, how my spirit, how do I learn, right? What are parts of me are unhealed? What's my unconscious things that's going on? Why did I get this way, right? What are the root thoughts? And so once you get to that point, you just basically decide to say, well, I like your programming as is, or I don't like it. If I don't like it, meaning it doesn't fit my goal and my needs, right? So these are the things I'm going to tinker and change about you. Knowledge of self gives you that ability to have power over self. You know what I'm saying? So focus is the most important thing in the world, but it's the hardest thing to obtain in this world. Because if they can distract you, they can stop you from manifesting.
That's some good game, bro. Thank you.
Yes, sir. God, come on. Who next? Who next? Come on now. We on fire now. Yes, sir. My brother here with the new high level conversation head right there.
Salute. How y'all doing?
Salute.
Since we're on the topic of masculinity, you mentioned Sigma and a list of other types of, I guess, status from other than just like alpha. And I was curious, which role or which one did you think Jonathan Majors played out and how he responded? And the reason I ask is because we out here in LA, we out here in Hollywood, Black men, I don't know what y'all experiences are out here, but I'm so happy that this event is happening today. I heard you talk about tribe building. I was headed to the drum circle, but I'm gonna stay and crash out here because at the end of the day, I go in there and just be isolated, not around a bunch of Black people out here in LA. And the people that I'm around, it's like, it gets real weird. But tying it back in, also shout outs to you shouted out BetterHelp recently. And that led me to, I'm about to start that. But it's been crazy out here. And that was a trigger. That video watching Jonathan Majors was a trigger for me because connecting it with the alpha conversation, it's not even who you are or what you're designed to be. You're constantly tested out here for masculinity, specifically because it's Hollywood. They come after power. You get attacked a lot, whether it's on set, you get tried, and it can cost you a lot. Like you could get blackballed, you could find yourself unbooked for weeks just because you checked somebody assertively but you're supposed to check things assertively because you are a divine masculine, but it comes with so many consequences. So I appreciated whatever episode where you did break down the different types, because there's a lot of times in life where I'm like, first off, I know who I am. I know my strength, but from me teaching in DC and having to leave because of Karen's, it's just, I don't know. I'm wondering, how are y'all navigating out here, and how are y'all navigating out here with this?
It's a way of life. You know what I'm saying? It's a warrior's way of life. It's a book called The Book of Five Rings that I like, by Miyamoto Musashi. And he was a swordsman who never lost a battle. And he always talked about never fighting yesterday's war, but specifically he had a way of moving throughout life, right? Like, being a warrior was never something that he cut on and off. It was the way that he lived, right? And he talked about how he engaged with the enemy. When they go left, he would go right. When they think that he was going to do a short sword, he'd pull out the long sword. And it was always keeping his enemy off target, but it was a way that he had a rhythm about living, right? And once you get into higher level masculine thinking, it becomes a way of life. It becomes a rhythm of doing things, right? Not something that you got to think of. It becomes a flow. Like for me, when I did work jobs, I would always go in there and set the tone before I got started, because the way you come in the game, right, it sets an expectation. So when you change up on that, right, then that's when people feel like you weird, right? That's when people feel like they can test you and things of that nature. But I would always start off with that masculine energy so they know not to play with me, so they know not to test me. And what happens is that sometimes I seen a person that was showing a bottle screwing into a lamp. And they was like, just because you fit in somewhere don't mean you need to be there. Don't mean you're supposed to be there. And some of these jobs just don't fit for masculine men. It just don't. The industry wasn't made for that. The industry was made to buck break. The industry was made because the people that are at the top, they want to make sure they can facilitate control, right? But Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan talked about how when he came into environments, he would bring his own atmosphere, right? To where people, like when I come into a room, I got to shift the room so I don't have to assimilate to the room, right? And I wanted to have to assimilate to me. So you look at somebody like Denzel Washington, right? He represents this idea to where you don't think people play with him. And the sacrifice that you might have to make is, you got to check things along the way, right? Life is about checking balances. So if somebody play with you, you got to check them, but you got to learn how to do it in a way to where you're not overly aggressive, right? Because the way, high level you do it is with intellect, right? But you do it with firmness to where it be like, let that be the last time. You know what I'm saying? But then you have a reputation of being a kind person, but very firm in the way that you deal with things. So then people, they won't even get that resolve. A lot of black men, they start jumping into like white voices and they start acting feminine because they believe this is the way that they need to show that they're safe. I won't do that. I will never do that, right? And you don't realize that you can be respected doing it the opposite way. It's just that this kills a lot of people mental energy that they have trying to figure out this whole dichotomy because, once you start locking in and seeing masculine personalities, archetypes in the world, you realize how much you've given up of yourself. You realize how much you're sacrificing to be what they accept versus to be what you accept of yourself. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, there's no way to be in a job that forces you to sacrifice your masculinity at any given time beyond you checking that at every corner and or making a way to be in another career path. This is why, I remember early, this was like, when I was like 20 and they was trying to get me to be a model. And I thought that might be easy money. And the first shoot they were trying to do was some underwear shoots. And I'm like, it ain't no way in hell that I'm about to let a bunch of men critique and parade me around in underwear to take pictures. It just wasn't going to happen. So on day one, I decided no, right? It didn't matter how much money, didn't matter how much opportunity. Some things just don't gel with my spirit, right? So I'm not going to put myself in that situation where I might want to slap somebody because now I put myself in a situation to be compromising my own values. So it's just, we're going to have to get to a place as black men where we stop having an assimilous idea of how we supposed to operate. But that's not going to happen until we got more personalities and renormalizing masculinity, because the norm is feminine men. The norm is not masculine men. Those are the outliers. They got a whole term, manosphere, for that, right? So it's this thing where we just gonna have to project and push a line on it regardless, right? And then create our own agendas and opportunities for ourselves. That's why I'm independent in what I do, because I will not be effeminized by nobody for no reason.
That's why we keep it independent.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie to you. In public, we don't get that type of energy where people come up to even try to do nothing weird with us, And if they do, we checking it at the spot.
Man, they gonna put on a deeper voice when they talking. They gonna check themselves. You feel me? I think that's the whole thing. Like, I think, my energy make people like that check themselves. Like, what the fuck am I doing? You know what I'm saying? And I get different energy from people as I move about. They tap into a different part of themselves, right? Because, I remind them like, yo, you can represent a stronger part of yourself as well. But that issue is going to always be an issue, especially in this world. This world was meant and it's molded to break a man down, specifically masculine man, to assimilate. It is not to project your higher self. It is not so you can walk around like you King Kong. They don't want you walk around like you a black guy with knowledge yourself. That's not what this world is for. That's why I'm going to always wear hats that represent knowledge yourself, so you know off top what you're dealing with. Now you have to operate with that expectation.
Peace. Salute. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I know we just got some new people that just came
What's happening,
in.
good brothers?
Appreciate y'all for pulling up.
Yes, sir.
Y'all got some questions y'all want to ask?
For sure. Just real quick, my name is Jelani Patterson. I coach football at Narbonne High School.
Yes, sir.
So I deal with a lot of our youth, you feel me? So
yes, sir.
Just a quick question. What's something, because I harp on accountability and being yourself, you feel me, living through confidence. So just I wanted to get your take on what's something I should be giving, more bars I should be giving to the youth. You feel me? What's more game I should be giving them?
It's a lot. But we was talking about self-awareness earlier and like knowledge of self and what does that look like? Like, I think the easiest way for somebody to live on what people always chase nowadays, purpose, is speaking truth, right? I think when I was younger, I used to always talk about like, you could lie to the world but never lie to yourself, right? Meaning that you got this radical transparency and honesty about that internal conversation you have with yourself. Because when you do that, the way you operate within the world is always real. You know what I mean? You know who you are. And the people that's the most respected, they the most honest with themselves. And they have the least amount of care about how the world view them, because they like, well, this is who I am. And it's building up that habit to where you don't even know how to be anything else but yourself, right? Which creates this authenticity that you have when you move throughout the world. People can tell when you connected to yourself versus you built up this facade that you trying to assimilate so that everybody sees you as a certain thing. And everybody has two sides to themselves. It's the one you present to the world, and then it's the one that you are privately. So it's helping them reinforce like that person you trying to be publicly, what you wear, how you talk, how you are with the homies, how you move about. That's your public persona. Then you got your private one. You know what I mean? Well, you might have done something and felt bad about it because that ain't really you. You feel me? Like, all of these things that you project, you got to remind them like, you have to learn how to integrate your public and your private side, because what end up happening, you may do something publicly that make you feel shamed about who you are privately. You feel me? And so for me, that's something that a lot of grown men end up having to learn later on, end up having to do work. Like, damn, I was doing all these things that was really against my values. Because that private self, when you checking yourself on your values, like, that ain't even me. Why did I do that? I was tripping. I got caught up in peer pressure, social situations, interactions. You feel me? And so it's that merging of like what you present publicly, let that be as real as you are with yourself privately. Therefore, it's going to be way less pitfalls and downfalls you're going to have to navigate throughout life later on when you're thinking about, why did I behave like that in that situation? You start feeling down about yourself. Most people, they got an issue with their past. You know what I'm saying? They start thinking about all the scenarios where they left themselves down. You feel me? Like, I was tripping. Then they start feeling shame. You feel me? Like, another thing is for a child to never feel shame. Shame it's the worst emotion because it makes you feel like you're not a good person, right? And then it becomes sickness. It becomes illness in the body. It rots you, right? So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan talked about it because he was speaking to preachers and he was explaining that when you speak to the Black community specifically, you can't leave them in shame. You can point out their problems, but shame is a space where you turn around to be like, all right, you did that wrong, but this is what's possible. So you always got to give them a light. You feel me? Like, all right, you know you was fucking up, but you know you a God, right? This is what's possible in you and what you can do, and you giving them steps to that. So it's like, I see where you're going. Let me turn you around and let you know what your trajectory could be. It has to always be reinforced, because otherwise, all they gonna hear reverberating is how fucked up they are. What's wrong with them? What's their issues? Then that makes them do it more, because that's the only thought that they got to spin in their head. You feel me? So after shame comes guilt. Guilt is okay. You can feel that you did something wrong, but then after that, you got to move higher up that ladder, right? Taking responsibility, accountability, discipline. That leads them to having a higher thinking of peace and joy and enlightenment. So I think for me, when I was young, man, you know, we was always taught about our ultimate possibility, which is we are gods. That's how I took it. When I was young, it was like a God complex. I thought I couldn't get shot. I thought like being a God was literal. You feel me? But then I realized like, nah, it's knowledge itself. It's a responsibility to saying that you got this great potential to use your mind and to be a force in the world, to have your willpower undisrupted, meaning that you can challenge things and you can make whatever you want happen. But that only happens in somebody who is psychologically whole, somebody who know themselves, they know how to speak, they know how to manage their emotions, they know how to deal with themselves in social situations, right? They know how to press themselves when they have triggers, and they know how to heal through those processes. They know how to learn. It's like there's a pie chart of when you become a man and when you become psychologically whole. And the biggest problem in society today is, especially with young men, is no rites of passage. What's that moment where you can say you became a man? And I always reminded myself that I wasn't a man until I would always have like these moments where I'd be like, all right, I'm not a man in this area until I can manage my finances. I'm not a man in this area until I deal with a relationship like this. I'm not a man in this area. So therefore, I have these rites of passage I got to push myself through, because in society today, we ain't got none. You know, I go back to Native American society and I use that example of they'd take a young man and they'd send him off to the woods for 3 days. He got to go create his own shelter. He got to hunt for his food, right? He got to find somewhere. He got to sleep, eat, think, whatever. He got to manage his fears. And what this does is it break that bubble that you inside somebody else's protection other than your own, right? So now you have to start this self-belief like, oh, I can do this. I can handle the world. Now the world ain't so scary. Now you like, oh, I'm a man now. So now you making decisions from a mature mind. But most males don't have that moment to where they saying that I can handle the world, which just makes them rely on other people. They rely on their ego. They rely on false measurements. They rely on their parents mostly, or their mother. So this is why a lot of men, they be grown as hell, but when something go down, they call him mama, because they still in her, you know, proverbial womb. They still under her protection. So it's like taking them through that rites of passage to be like, you don't become a man till you establish these values. That's how you know. Not when you get to this age. Not when you can have sex with as many girls as you want to. Not when, you know what I mean, you a shooter or something. Like, no. That manhood represents your ability to use your mind and you living accordingly to being aligned with your values. So, what, you want to close it out?
I'm going to close it out. So we had came to the conclusion of the Man-to-Man episode.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you for answering these questions.
Man,
I appreciate
round of
all
applause to
y'all
the audience. I appreciate y'all.
For sure.
Yeah, this was great. As we talk about, I truly believe it's a spiritual and mental crisis going on, but you know, I think it's that point where we turn around from it. You know what I mean? I seen an article just as a last point where they was talking about how, and I got to pull it up again, how Black women were going through this movement of like chastity, right? To where they weren't giving up sex until they found like a real partner. You know what I mean? Which will be interesting, because I always say that everything goes through cycles, right? You're going to go through this idea of, you know what I mean, just lustfulness, promiscuity, all these things. And I mean, as far as like how society projects it. And then it's going to be a trend where people believe the opposite is freedom. And I believe every trend is turning around right now, because people realizing that these things are tools that make them slaves of their lower self. versus them tapping into their higher, and mostly because they realize, man, this shit don't make me feel no better. It make me live no better. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see what's the next trend of the generation and how they treat themselves. All right. That concludes the Man to Man show. Y'all tap in for the next one.
We just experienced and participated in the Man to Man podcast. It was very insightful. But my question had to do with the subject that they addressed regarding Jonathan Majors. And I was curious to connect it to another discussion that I saw Brother Keys talk about, which was the different archetypes of masculinity from alpha to the other ones. That video of Michael Ealy and Jonathan Majors, what role did Jonathan Majors play? Was he an alpha male? Was he a beta? Was he a sigma? And I asked that question because that was an example of a public event on camera where you're cornered, your reputation is at stake. I'm wondering, who is alpha? The one who risks it all, gives it all away, and with it, you lose your money and the ability to lead and your freedom. The community, Black community out here, I was so happy to come out here and to just connect and to just vibrate high level conversations. Real people, real vibes, souls, all of that.
Hello, my name is Isis, also known as Goddess of the West. I'm here today at the headquarters, listening to the Man to Man podcast. Like, this was an amazing experience as someone that watches Keys and Steve on YouTube, to just see them here, like person to person, and be there first, like in studio audience. Like, that was really a cool experience. To allude on the question I asked him, what advice would he give to a woman tapping into her divine feminine? And I feel like he gave a really, really great answer. He gave us examples of women to model ourselves after, which I personally already follow Queen Afua, and a couple of the other names that he mentioned I would like to explore more. But just knowing that, like, it's important to tap in and be that counterpart for this divine masculine man. So that was my question, and he answered it truly amazing. And I enjoyed my time here, and I look forward to continuing to watch the Man to Man podcast, as well as high level conversations, as well as everything that comes out of this camp. And I am once again Goddess of the West. Peace.
Peace and blessings, everyone. My name is Christoph Wu, co-CEO and founder of the Source LA and the Source LA Reentry. Man, we just tapped in today at the pop-up shop with 19 Keys at the High Level Club. All things high level. Just want to give a big shout out to, Brother Keys and Steve, for opening up their establishment to the public and, getting some real life knowledge of self. First and foremost, I want to commend Brother 19 Keys, for the message that he pushes to the masses. It's something that I definitely support. And I think it's very important that, the knowledge of self is bestowed upon every single individual. We went over, masculinity. We also went over the Donald Trump thing, whether if it was real or staged, a lot of different perspectives on that, and we also spoke about, what are some things that we can do to bridge the wealth gap in the Black community. And, Brother 19 Keys, man, he broke it down very fluently on how we need to focus on the family unit. Everything starts in the home, from knowledge to etiquette, to mannerism, to how to walk, to how to talk. All these things are very vital, before, getting to that step, man. So I think that was some really good game. Steve also gave some really good input. So, I'm just very appreciative, to be in this space with like-minded people, given this knowledge of self. I feel like it's very important. Again, it's a blessing to be here. Follow the Source LA. Follow the Source Reentry. It's the people's platform. All resources from entrepreneurship, reentry services, child care, housing,
jobs, you name it, follow us. It's the people's platform. Big shout out to Man to Man Podcast. You guys doing a spectacular job. Keep up the great work.
My name is Jelani. A lot of my kids know me as Coach Brady. I'm the owner of Rebel Athletics, and I also coach at Narbonne High School. Today I stopped by Man to Man Conversations. I stepped in and I asked Keys what was just some bars that I can give to my younger kids. You feel me? Me coaching football, a lot of our kids is kids that look like us. So I just wanted to get some knowledge that I can pass down to them. And he pretty much just told me, like, just make sure that they more self-aware. They learn about themselves. Like, it's okay to mess up, but when they do mess up, they learn from it. Especially us as black men. Like, we got to let that go. It's okay to agree with each other. It's okay to be wrong. And it's okay to admit that we got to get better in certain areas. So, you know, it was a cool conversation. I appreciate the knowledge and something that I can definitely take back, get to my kids, and it was a great day. And shout out to the Man to Man podcast, man. They did right. I ain't gonna lie.
I'm a ratchet, not a rapper. One take Quan. You feel me? The guy, the man, the myth, the legend himself. My boy 19 Keys, man. Dropping jewels as usual. You can put your boy on with more technical game about building a team. You feel me? Understanding your value, who belongs with you, who doesn't belong with you. You know what I'm saying? Not being afraid to lose people. That's along a journey. You know what I'm saying? That's what I really took the most from it. You know what I'm saying? Be strenuous. Don't be afraid to fire somebody, basically. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes people get hired, sometimes people get fired. That's a part of the process of building your team. That's a part of knowing yourself. Don't compromise yourself, you feel me? Really just stick to the plan, stick to the mission. Make sure you bring people along that's gonna follow that. You feel me? That can help build on that. You feel me? Not just coming around for the moment or the ride or to steal sauce, because that happens too. Don't be afraid to be masculine. If that, even though that might sound weird, but you know what I'm saying, embrace it. You know what I'm saying? It gotta be around in the world, just like the feminine energy, but let the women be feminine. Let the men be masculine. You feel me? Everybody got their feminine ways, but you know what I'm saying? Tap into your masculine energy. Don't be afraid to use it. Don't be afraid to thrive in your masculinity.
Hello. So my name is Lee. I'm a fashion designer, but more importantly, before that, I'm a spiritual being and I follow God. So that is my full-time job. The Man to Man podcast and being here in the audience was a very dope experience. I feel like for me personally, to hear a perspective that is so, as far as 19 Keys, that is so deep into his divine masculine energy. For me, I'm balanced in mind, but I love to operate out of my divine feminine. So to be able to sit and listen and take in the energy of it all was great. I enjoyed the answers or the responses from both 19 Keys and Steve. They gave in-depth answers. They don't, people, you could tell when people just want to give you something just to give you something, but what they give and what they pour out, you can tell it's from the inside, and their energy really encompasses it all. So it was a great experience. I advise everybody to pull up, support, join the movement, and most importantly, I want to implore everybody to lead with love and to learn exactly who they are. Go within yourself, because oftentimes, especially in the days we're in now, everybody is going outside themselves trying to feel whole, but the only way to feel whole is going inside yourself. So I love you, and I love this experience. So that's me.
Welcome to the Man to Man podcast. We talk like God. Man to Man. If you're going to jump into Crownz Society, you're saying that I represent power, I represent knowledge of self.
Stepping in the name of drip, get ready with me. Stepping in the name of drip, get ready.
I wear the crown to just symbolize, like, I know who I am, I know why I'm here, I know my purpose.
It's abundance, it's royalty, it's prosperity, it's energy.
Put in.
Yeah.
I gotta walk with my head held high, because you gotta see this and you gotta see this.
I believe that if anybody wants to be able to protect their mind and be able to think freely, you gotta get Crownz Society today, man.
Neo after the blue pill, the color palette's all black. James Bond mixed with Malcolm X in my Che Guevara era.